Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. Welcome back to the channel. So we just got back from the track. We were up at Eagles Canyon Raceway again. We had another good weekend up there. This time we went with Chin track days. So it was my first time going with that group, and overall it was really good. You know, they kind of specialize in doing a lot more seat time. So we got tons and tons of seat time. Unfortunately, it rained, you know, for the first entire day, and then it kind of rained all of the second morning. So we only ended up getting about 3 dry sessions in on the car. And then on the last dry session, I got a boost leak. The intercooler disconnected. So the J-pipe to the intercooler connection came off and disconnected, and unfortunately that kind of ended our last session, but that's okay. It was the last session of the weekend anyways, and you know, overall the car did great. Can't really have any complaints. Just wanted to, you know, kind of go over, you know, some things that we're going to do to the car, a little bit of maintenance that we're going to go over today, and what we have plans and upcoming for the car. So as I mentioned, you know, we had the intercooler J-pipe connection come apart. I went ahead and got that fixed already. Really not too big of a deal. I am stage 1 tuned, and I think that's probably a leading cause to it. So, you know, it kind of just adds a little bit of boost, and it can cause those to disconnect. And it's kind of a common problem, especially for people, you know, driving their cars on track. My solution, I'm just gonna go back to the GTS tune. It'll make a little bit less power, but that's okay. I kind of deal with a little bit of heat soak, being that it's a bone stock car on just a GTS tune. Or a stage 1 tune. We're going back to the GTS tune. I think going back to the GTS tune will kind of alleviate some of that heat soak that I'm getting on track, and it'll just be a little bit safer overall. I don't really feel that I'm losing much time or much power based on that. Other than that, the car's been super solid. The seats have been great. The cage has been great. I went to these new 18 by 10.5 squared with 295 tires. These have been nothing but perfect. Like I said, I only got about 2 to 3 dry sessions on them, but overall they handled absolutely fantastic. Even in the wet, they felt really quick. So I was kind of surprised with the amount of grip that I had. I do have to get used to these run at a little bit lower PSI than the RE71 RS's run. Those are around the 34 to 35 PSI range, and Yokohama recommends these tires to run between the 29 to 32 range. So I did have to get used to, you know, keeping the pressures a little bit lower. They were kind of high for most of my dry sessions, but we ended up kind of, you know, working that out and getting the tire pressures dialed in towards our last session, where we kept going faster and faster. So now that we've got about 4 to 5 days worth of track sessions on the car, I want to go ahead and do some regular scheduled maintenance. I prefer to do these, you know, more often than I need to, just to be safe. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go ahead and do an oil change, and we're gonna go ahead and do a brake flush. I'm debating doing the brake flush. I'm not quite sure if I need it. The pedal did start to feel a little bit soft at the top, but that could have just been the oil getting hot, you know, the brake fluid getting hot. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure if I wanna do that. It has only been 4 days. Usually, you know, with the high temp brake fluid that I'm using, we can go a little bit longer than that, maybe, you know, 5 or 6 events, 10 to 12 days before we need any coolant or any brake fluid flush. Or maybe I just do a little bit of bleed just to make sure that the top of that pedal is doing well. Since we did drive this car in the rain, I'm probably gonna get the car up on all fours, go ahead and do a solid cleaning of the underside of the car. I kind of want to get the coilovers cleaned up. They've been driven in the rain quite a bit, and just want to take care of some of that. Otherwise, the car's doing fantastic. Like I said, no issues. But we do want to just go ahead and do an oil. We'll do an oil analysis. We'll send that off to be checked. We will get some new oil in here. It's only been about a little less than 1,000 miles, actually. I think it's been like 900 miles on this oil. So definitely early, but it has been 2 events, which is about 4 track days. We also did the autocross event on this setup. Other than that, car's just pretty good. Probably go over some of the undercarriage stuff. May or may not do that on camera, but just, you know, checking stuff. We have another event planned in 3 weeks. We are actually going to Circuit of the Americas. So it's gonna be my first time at COTA. You know, excited to see how this car will do. It's Circuit of the Americas is kind of a step up. It's a little bit of a big boy track, but we should be good to go. There's not really too much more that this car needs. In terms of consumables, like I said, we're on these tires. They were takeoffs, but I've only got now basically 2 dry sessions on them. They don't really heat up in the wet. I do have an extra 2 sets of 295 35s. So these are the slightly thicker sidewall. So these will be good. These are also takeoffs, but as you can see, they're super fresh. So they've only marginally been used. So I think we should get some good life out of those. I may or may not bring a set of these with me to the track, just so that if we need to be, we can change them. We're going back with Chin track days, and they specialize in having tons and tons of seat time. I want to kind of make sure that the car is going to be okay and be all set for, you know, whatever seat time I kind of want to throw at it. Make sure I'm not going to have any problems, and make sure the car is just going to be performing well. One other change I want to kind of go over. I decided, I don't know if some of you guys noticed, but I do have the yellow DRLs, and I actually swapped these back. It's only like a 5-minute swap. These are the yellow ones. I went ahead and took them off. You know, I've loved the yellow. I've kind of had them on the car since, you know, I had this car for like, I think 3 weeks before I put them on. I really like the look of the yellow, but after looking at some of the track photos and just over the past few months, I've kind of been back and forth on whether or not I want to keep the yellow or want to go back to white. So it's only a 10-minute swap for me. If that, I want to run the white, go get some photos, you know, get some photos on track, see how the car looks. We'll run them, we'll see how we like them, and we'll go from there. But otherwise, I think, you know, the car's looking fantastic. Not really too much more I'm gonna do in terms of mods. I think in the future, I'm probably gonna start working on some of the kinematics. So those are like the full SPL arms. The alignment's super solid, so I'll keep this setup right now. Didn't really deal with too many issues or too many changes. The only change I did make on track was I softened up the front just a little bit more, 2 more clicks. And that seemed to do pretty well. The car feels pretty balanced right now. Now that was only in the rebound adjustment, so I have not messed at all with any of the compression. So we have high speed and low speed compression that we can still mess with to dial in the setup more. I'm kind of going to be referring to some others with a little bit more experience, a little bit more knowledge on, you know, what I need to make, what changes I should probably look into, whether or not I need to stiffen the fronts or high speed, low speed. So I have some friends at Circuit of the Americas that will be there with me. Probably gonna look for, you know, some setup advice. It starts to get a little bit complicated when you have so many levels of adjustment through the car. So you have your basic charts and whatnot, but it's one thing to know, okay, you know, let's go ahead and make this change or make this change, but it's a different thing to know where you need to make it, you know, how the car feels. And when you're driving, you're focusing on so many other things, hitting your braking zones, making sure the car is doing okay, not spinning out, trying to go fast, trying to feel for the car, and trying to do all of that and learn where it needs to be stiffer, high speed turns, low speed turns. That's what footage is super useful for. So I record all of my sessions, spending some time in between sessions, going through, looking at the data, watching my videos, watching how the car controls has kind of been a little bit useful. Right now, I've just kind of been dealing with the car lacking the want to rotate. Been doing a little bit of research, and one thing I've noticed is that the rear spring rates on these are quite low. I believe I'm at a 500-pound spring rate in the rears. This is even stiffer than what Nitron recommends for the track day setup on the R3s. And one thing I've noticed is that if you compare it to any of the other 2-ways or 3-ways, like MCS, they run about the same front spring rate, but they're running a 700-pound rear. And I think what it is that Nitron is just a little bit known for wanting the cars to not be overly tail happy. But one thing that's kind of forced me to do is dial in the suspension to have a little bit better rotation. So it was something I was struggling a little bit with. Even throttling out through corners, I kind of wasn't getting the car to rotate very well. So I've noticed I've had to stiffen the rear a bunch, soften the front a bunch, and that gets the car to turn in a ton better, way less understeer. And if I'm a little more happy with the throttle, then I can, you know, kind of slide my way through the corner. Feel like I have a little bit better control of the car on track. So other than that, been super happy with the car. Our pads are doing great. We're not really, I kind of remember sometimes how hard I can push these pads. They just bite and bite and bite, and they love to be pushed really hard. So we are wearing down on our pads. We still have some life left. I think we'll make it like maybe another event or two. Coda might be our last event with these pads. But one thing that's also happening is the brake calipers are changing colors. So you can see they're a little bit darker here, and when we come to the rears, they're a lot more bright. So we're definitely getting some heat in those rotors, but or heat in the calipers, and it's a common thing that they change colors in the fronts. So not really too big of a deal, but let's go ahead and get the car pulled out, get it up on the jacks, get it in the air. We can start the oil change, and we'll go over the rest of the car. I might go ahead and clean it first, or I'll clean it after. The car is clean. We're just talking about the undercarriage. Let's get the car pulled out, and we'll get to some of this maintenance. Hey guys, so it's actually the next day. We're car's all back on the ground. Everything went well. We ended up not doing any of the brake flush or brake bleed. I just kind of left that maybe for another day. I did get a chance to look at my brake pads. They're looking just a little thin, so I went ahead and ordered a new set before we have our next track day. I will still probably run on these for the first day or so, and then I'll probably just keep them in case I need them, but I'll have a spare set just for whenever these go out. They're only the fronts that are bad, so I'm only going to get a new set of fronts. Hopefully they'll show up within the next few weeks. Otherwise, we got the oil change done. It ended up taking a lot longer than I wanted to. I forgot to undo the bolt on my oil can, so I ended up spilling oil everywhere, and it was a mess. So I had to pull up all the Swiss tracks and get that all cleaned up, but it ended up not being too bad, and it let me do some cleaning underneath the Swiss tracks, which I'd kind of planned on doing this year anyways at some point, so got that done. But it's the next day. We got the coilovers all cleaned up. They turned out really well. They look basically brand new. Today I just kind of went through, gave the interior a solid clean. So we got the carpets all vacuumed, seats cleaned up. They're still looking immaculate. There really wasn't much to clean, but we've been having some dusty conditions, so they were a little bit dusty. Kind of just cleaned up the dash and everything. Emptied the car back out of anything that I don't need. That just ends up making its way in there after a track day. One thing I also finally removed were these the bottom of the seatbelt receptacles in the back seats. They were still in here. Don't really need them, so went ahead and got those out. The last thing I kind of want to get out is I've kind of been looking at getting these seatbelts out. It's not that they need to come out, but again, there's no real point for them. This one here as well. So actually, I don't know. Does this? No. But I want to, I don't know. There's no need for these to be in here. This one like kind of oddly sticks up like this sometimes, and then you can see it from the back and it looks kind of funky. Try and leave this one down or something. Yeah, I kind of just want to get those out, but I have a feeling it's going to take a lot of this paneling to come out before I can get it out, and I don't really need to do any of that. It'll probably stay the way it is. Otherwise, the car's kind of looking pretty flawless. While I had the wheels and tires off, I checked those. Those look pretty good. The rear pads are actually really good, so those look brand new. Don't really need to worry about those very much. Otherwise, the car's doing pretty solid. Let's open up the engine bay. So the car's doing really well. Everything looks good underneath here. Kind of let the car run for a few minutes. Everything looked good. Everything looks fine. No leaks. So we're all good underneath here. Car's looking pretty clean, pretty fantastic. We got the carbon fiber hood. Still one of my favorite mods of this car. I think this just adds so much to it. Man, seeing this weave, so pretty. And it's so unique. It's just something that most people don't have, especially on a track build or a track car. So only came on the OEM M4 GTS. So pretty cool, but engine's all looking pretty good, looking pretty clean. Not really too much I'm gonna change underneath here. Like I mentioned, I had that J-pipe come off, so I kind of tightened up all my clamps. Made sure everything was looking good. Other than that, I plan to replace the whole cooling system here soon. I'm gonna do the cooler in the front, as well as the charge cooler, charge pipes, and J-pipe, as well as all the cooling, so oil cooling, trans cooling, as well as the auxiliary radiators and the center radiator for the charge cooler. So, that'll come down the line. Here in Texas, it gets pretty toasty. We definitely need more cooling than what comes from the factory. Other than that, for now, we'll be pretty good. Like I said, I am gonna flash back to the GTS tune. I just don't need that extra power. I think it'll probably handle a little bit better for being a stock car. I think the GTS tune will kind of suit the car a little bit better. One thing I did try and mess with was the exhaust. It's been having a little bit of an exhaust leak back here. And it's just the section between the muffler, so the rear section, and the mid pipe. And that connection is just having a little bit of a leak. And I went down there to go try and mess with it a little bit yesterday, and the clamps they're seized, they're gone. They're not coming off, so I'm gonna have to go somewhere and kind of get that fixed up here at some point. Otherwise, car's doing pretty well. You know, driving with a little exhaust leak kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. I do kind of think I might want to go a little bit more aggressive with the exhaust, being that, you know, this car gets tracked pretty heavily. It's pretty useful to have loud exhaust on the track. I feel like it's just good to know because you can hear the car a little bit better, especially with the windows down. It gets super windy. So it's a little bit nice to have, you know, a loud car that you can kind of hear. Plus it's just cool. So this car is not driven on the street too much. If it is, it's just, you know, for a little 20-30 minute drive here and there. I don't really mind having a loud exhaust. Doesn't get daily driven. Eventually we'll do downpipes and then we'll go from there and see how much louder I want to make this thing. But for right now, I think it sounds pretty good. Kind of just enjoying the car right now. Some light maintenance, otherwise car's doing great. Looking forward to our next track day in a few weeks at Circuit of the Americas. So we've got a few more little things to prep, basic little things over the car. I will, like I said, I'm probably gonna be bringing an extra set of these tires. I do need to get this splitter mounted. I will be making a video on how I'm gonna get that set up. But man, you can see this has been here for like 1 week. And look at the dust. This is, Texas is just having kind of like a little dust storm, and pollen is going crazy right now. We're gonna figure out a way to get that. I have everything that I should need to get it sorted, but basically we're gonna do kind of a custom setup so that I can get this on and off the car super quickly, because it will most definitely not make it onto the trailer with this on there. I could probably get more wood blocks and maybe make it work, but it definitely won't make it out of my driveway. Right now, it won't make it onto the trailer either. We're gonna have to make a quick little way that we can get this on and off the car really quickly, get a little bit more grip, a little bit more downforce here in the front. I think it'll pair really well with the rest of the car. I don't think it'll be too unbalanced, not having rear grip. It shouldn't be that much in the front, so I think it'll be a nice little addition to the car. Well, hope you guys enjoy today's video. We kind of just did some simple maintenance, a little bit of cleanup. It was a little bit more aesthetic, I guess. No real talking, just kind of getting the work done, videoing a little bit of it, a little bit of time-lapse stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment. See you guys in the next video, and I will see you guys at the next track event.